Joining me now is Kerry Hinkle at the US Hemp Roundtable. And the last time I talked to Kerry, it was right around Memorial Day. I believe it was a Friday when a representative of the U.S. House decided to throw in an amendment on the Farm Bill of 2024 that pretty much would have prohibited and ended the entire hemp industry. And here it is Friday after Labor Day, Kerry, and California Governor Gavin Newsom decides to spring something on your state. You want to kind of give me a little background on why and how we got here?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me on again, Jimmy. We had been waging this war in California for over a year now. We just hosted a webinar actually for some folks in our membership on Wednesday, and it was kind of a recap, almost a celebration, if you will, of AB 2223, which was a bill that would have implemented a 0.25 milligram per serving and 1 milligram of THC per package limit on all hemp products, right? And that was in the bill of AB 2223. And then Governor Newsom had some technical amendments during the process that actually went backwards and implemented a restriction of THC in hemp products at 0.0001% THC, right? So basically, CBD isolate is all that you can sell, and that's what the governor had suggested. We were working with the bill sponsor of AB 2223, Assemblywoman Aguiar Curry, who was the lead on our CBD bill a few years ago called AB 45, which is what is current law in California. So she led the charge on legalizing CBD and hemp products in California, and now she's kind of flipped her position on it and is leading the charge to try to ban these products, right? So we have Assemblywoman Aguiar Curry trying to implement these really restrictive THC limits, and we have the governor going even a step further and suggesting the same thing. Well, what happened was folks even on the cannabis side, consumers, patients, of course, hit businesses and our trade association were like, we can't live and operate and do business with those extremely restrictive products. You don't understand the ramifications and implications that these limits would have on our industry. So we were lobbying hard, fighting against them, email campaigns. We had lobbyists working in Sacramento, the whole 9 yards, and the bill died. It died in committee, and it wasn't advanced through. And we had heard some rumblings that they might try to sneak it into another piece of legislation, but that ultimately didn't happen, which is why at the offset of the call, I said we had the webinar on Wednesday to say kind of, hey, this is what happened. We want to negotiate in good faith. We understand there are good parts of this bill, like limiting these products to 21 and over, requiring good manufacturing practices. These are things that we're in support of, but those restrictive milligram limits were unreasonable. So we had to ultimately, instead of negotiate in good faith, vote to kill the bill, which it did. Now this morning, Friday, September 5th, 6th, Friday, September 6th, with the Governor Newsom just released a press release saying he's going to go through emergency regulations to implement those same restrictive THC limits that the legislature didn't pass. So rather than going through the normal business of order in California, introducing a bill, passing it through both chambers, and having him sign it, now he's trying to implement it through some emergency regulations. If it goes through the Office of Administrative Law in California, then after 10 days, these become effective. And the public only has 5 days to comment after they've been posted on the website. As of 20 minutes ago, it's 11 Eastern. As of 20 minutes ago, they still weren't published. So this is all happening really quickly in live. I'm reacting, getting phone calls. We've been on the horn all day with our lobbyists in California to kind of react here. So, I think a lawsuit might be coming, Jimmy.
Oh, of course.
This is clear government overreach from Governor Newsom on an issue that we heard that he'd walked into a liquor store or grocery store and saw some beverages being sold and was appalled was the phrase I had heard. And oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Somebody's drinking a 5 milligram THC beverage instead of drinking wine. The world's going to end now, right? So again, there are some provisions that we are supportive of, but the way that this is happening to come from one person's office, there's some other kind of political inside rumblings that we've heard of cannabis folks really in the ear of the governor's office that want to create this monopoly for them. And the last point I want to make, I know I'm kind of going on here, but we've been working this issue for a long time, Jimmy, and it's really frustrating. Is that not all regulated marijuana companies are against us, but that system has failed in California. They've got 1,000 or 2,000 registered dispensaries. I think 300 pay their bills and taxes, and yet the hemp industry is the one thriving. We've got, especially in the beverage side of things, your soccer mom isn't going to want to go into a dispensary where they're selling 40% flour and bud and all that good stuff. But you know what she might do when she's picking up her bottle of wine at Total Wine? She might stop by and grab that 5 milligram, 10 milligram low dose beverage. She might drink that instead, right? That same consumer might at the grocery store pick it up on a retail shelf, right? And again, if you sell these to 21 and over and make them right, label them correctly, etc., this is an environment and a world where these products can thrive. And what's happening right now is they're trying to take a market that's winning, that consumers like, and they're trying to have the government pick winners and losers and force all these products into a failing dispensary market it's just asinine, and it's really frustrating to see, Jimmy. So again, I should get off my soapbox here, but
No, you shouldn't. I appreciate you sharing because I hear the frustration, and it's the same frustration I share because the law enforcement community, the law creative community, that our congressmen, our leaders in our federal government and in our state, cities and towns still consider anything with THC in it a drug. And again, that to me is the biggest hurdle to overcome because it's a plant. It's like I keep comparing it to Robitussin. You can't go into a Walgreens or a CVS and buy Robitussin unless you're over 21 and walk out the door. Why can't they do that with hemp-derived products in gasoline stations, convenience stores, and supermarkets? Hello, it's the same freaking thing. It drives me nuts. It really does. And yet, it's still going because everybody wants a piece of the pie, Kerry. Everybody sees money, 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 money. We've got to get our share. And that goes down from the operators to the licensees, to the regulators, to the elected officials in our governments. You think you're frustrated? You work in the trenches. I just work in front of a camera and a microphone. You know what I mean? And I don't have to listen to anybody but myself because I base it all on all the stuff that I read every week, 50 newsletters, talking to scientists, talking to botanists. And that's how we're going to segue into this next particular thing that happened this week, big week for hemp. What the heck is THCO? Okay, because I finally figured out what THCA is. I have a good definition of it. All right, when you inflame it, it gets you high. Okay, that is pretty much the basics, right? But now a federal court in Virginia is basically saying the DEA's definition of hemp is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. What are we going to do now?
Yeah. And I think it's in my non-lawyer opinion, this is a post-Chevron decision world, right? And so this is a circuit court saying, we don't have to recognize the authority of the DEA. They mentioned that in their answer there. So, that could bode well for a product like THCA flower as well. It's funny you mentioned that because DEA also says THCA flower is illegal, but does this now apply to that same standard or not? So and what was announced earlier this week, for background on listeners that may not know, a woman unfortunately was fired from her job for using cannabis, and I wanted to make sure
let's make sure you're in North Carolina, because this is now at the federal level. It's been appealed to the federal level. Okay, go ahead.
Correct. Yeah, and so a woman in North Carolina claimed that I think she had anxiety and some back problems, and was using CBD and I think Delta 8 and THCO
in off hours. Okay.
Yep. Off hours, was using that to help her manage day-to-day life, which many of us use. If she would have been using opioids, I don't know if she would have lost her job here. So I wanted to make sure that we reference that here, is that it's very unfortunate that she lost her job here.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
The decision in what was put in statute was or not in statute, but the decision coming down from the circuit court judges was very interesting and pro hemp in that they agreed with the broad definition that's in the 2018 Farm Bill that derivatives and extracts and isomers direct from hemp are legal, absent of state regulations. North Carolina has some good regulations, but guess what they haven't done? They haven't banned those products. So they can't, in that argument, they were saying that the products that she was taking would have been deemed illegal, and yet they're not. And that was the Fourth Circuit agreeing with a previous decision from the Ninth Circuit out in California in a case about AK Futures, which also said that Delta 8 should be legal. So this continues to prove that under the 2018 Farm Bill law, these products are legal, and that this furthers our point that we need regulation, not misguided prohibition on these products. So it was a big decision for us, and I there's a guy at the DEA, Terrence Booz or Boss, I forget exactly how to pronounce his name, and he has on record multiple times stated THCA flower is illegal, Delta 8's illegal, and it's just another example of the DEA being wrong on their interpretation of it. And again, in a post-Chevron world, I think that bodes well for the legality of our industry. If only we get some sensible regulations in, keep these products out of the hands of kids. I think access to the cannabis plant in general has really been opened up thanks to hemp. Being able to get beverages delivered right to my door is something I can't do sitting in Kentucky without our medical marijuana market up yet. I can't get that access to those plants delivered straight to my door unless it's derived from hemp. So, we want more folks to come on our side of the issue. And I think this decision from the Fourth Circuit bodes well for us.
So let's talk about what everyone agrees on. Can we educate the community, including our young people and our parents, about this plant? And while we're doing the education of the young people and the parents, can we throw some of these elected officials in there too, please? Because they're making decisions based on something they don't understand. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not a chemist. I don't understand, to be honest with you, how the different cannabinoids work and the endocannabinoid system and the entourage effect and all this. And, I know that it impacts my brain. I think we can all agree on that, right? However, is it making me impaired? Is it changing my life? No, it's allowing me to get through life. And now we have the prohibitionists back at it again. Have you noticed, by the way, the news cycle, that there's been more spin on old research and debunked science theory over the last month since the public comment period was so overwhelmingly positive on the rescheduling? Now we're starting to hear from the, which group I'm going to talk about, the SAM group, Dr. Kevin Sabet, and the law firm, the former DA, William Barr, ripping it again and saying, oh, no. And I was like, cannabis use disorder. Where was cannabis use disorder in the 70s and the 60s? Okay, just out of curiosity. Okay, I mean, I recognize that it was being used, but nobody called it. If you use it, it's a disorder. Come on, people. There's medicinal qualities here. It's saved thousands of people. I've talked to hundreds of them. Hundreds of them I've talked. Cannabis has saved my life. Cannabis has changed my life. And guess what? We're going to be promoting that again because we're going to market with tell us your cannabis story and you can win a prize. And we'll be giving out prizes. And we're building out our new news show, Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Yes, Elena Pinto is still the anchor. Yay. Yes, I'm promoting here because I'm so excited about keeping it going and more importantly, taking it to a whole new level. What in the world is both sides of this plant? What in the world is this industry, and I'm going to throw everybody in the same boat, going to do about this lack of knowledge and education at the levels that are dictating policy in all governments? I'm talking about the feds, the states, the cities, the towns. Everybody's facing it, and there's billions of dollars in this industry, and I'm sure there's enough of a pie to go around if you start thinking and educating yourself, which is not going on. It's like THC is the big evil.
And there's a good, you remind me of a story. We were lobbying in Ohio and on some sensible regulations there for hemp products. And one of their requirements was to keep the products behind the counter. And on the surface, makes a lot of sense, right? One caveat, though, is I mentioned those hemp-derived THC beverages. It's by far the biggest category right now. We've seen an explosion of new companies in that vertical making a lot of money. Those don't fit neatly behind a counter. You walk into any gas station on an end cap and you can buy your beer, sitting right there on the shelf. You've been able to do that for decades. And so, we pointed that out to the bill sponsor in Ohio, and his response was, wait, they're putting this in drinks? And I thought that was a great example of where they're coming from on this issue. Is these are the people legislating and regulating our industry. And the lack of education, the lack of understanding of how it's sold, where it's sold, and what it's even sold in is quite surprising. And I will say there are a few bad actors hurting everybody. It's already illegal to have trademark infringement on products to make them look like Skittles and Doritos and candy, right? But we see time and time again, it's happening in Missouri right now. There's a huge story with the governor there. He got a large donation, and then the next day decided to come out with an emergency reg against hemp products, almost identical to what we're seeing in California, where the legislature did not pass a bill, so the governor is overstepping and trying to put in emergency regulations. And when these politicians come up, and they show the bags of products that appeal to children, I'm frustrated because those are already illegal. In California, the California Department of Public Health already has the ability to enforce against these bad actors. They just have to go do it. They need more money. They need more time, but the law is already in place. Just go and make the enforcement already. So go ahead.
And actually, we're covering that. We mentioned that this week that there was, over $2 million, thousands of plants and confiscated. So they recognize what they have to do. It's just been, Kerry, it's just been handled poorly from the very beginning. Do you remember a few years ago, and I don't like to bring politics in or the Supreme Court, but I'm going to, that Clarence Thomas wrote a memo about how the federal laws and the state laws just don't jive and something has to happen, right? And of course, he made this great memo, and he never mentioned the role that race has played in the prohibition of cannabis, which I kind of blogged about because it's like, you missed it by one word, pal. But that being said, I get it. It's politics. And unfortunately, now our Supreme Court is now a political, not just constitutional anymore. And that therein lies another subject for another day. But Kerry Hinkle, as always, I really enjoy talking to you because you enlighten me. We are aligned in what we'd like to see as far as regulation goes. I think every side of the aisle recognizes that we want to keep it out of the hands of under 21, or at least educate the community of parents, which, by the way, the toughest freaking job any of us ever have is parenting. Give us the tools to educate our children about this product. And it compares so well to alcohol when you talk to a child. You take this product and you go to college and you get 40 shots as a hazing, you're going to die. You take 40 bong hits of this particular product, you're not going to die. You're going to feel really bad. You're going to be uncomfortable. But guess what? You'll survive and be able to tell the story about it and probably learn from that lesson. It is the simplest thing to me because I lived it myself. And now I've educated myself. And look, it's 2024. I got my medical card in 2013. I started watching Max Simon's Green Flower videos that were all over YouTube until YouTube decided to take them all down after the Cole memo got rescinded. I don't know if you noticed that. Yeah. So again, I've really been part of it, and I've learned quite a bit about what's going on. And I don't understand how people like you, my friend Morgan Fox at Normal, how do you deal with the people that just don't understand? They don't want to learn. And to me, that's laziness.
It's access to the cannabis plant has never been more available, and thanks in large part to the 2018 Farm Bill and hemp-derived products. Right. Being able to get them straight to your doors has been a game changer. The science behind it has been, expedited decades because of hemp. I was in a CBD shop before the 2018 Farm Bill, and I was selling gross oil that you stuck under your tongue, and I said, hold your nose, and I promise it's good for you. I used to say, my grandma said, if it tastes bad, it must be good for you, right? That was the world that we used to be in. And 6 years later, I can get a product with CBN and CBG and 5 milligrams of D9 right to my door, and it's like, okay, well, I needed 6 milligrams, or I needed 10, or I needed 20. I can hyper dilate and find the exact product for the exact need that I want. And it's in every form factor now. And a lot of that is in thanks part to the movement of hemp and deriving these products from hemp. More and more every day, cannabis companies are coming more and more on our side of the issue. We welcome them to it, rather than fight, political infighting between two people selling it from the same plant. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So
that's what the government wants. That's what they're
exactly.
trying to do. They're trying to pit people against each other to make it as difficult as possible to survive in this industry because they don't understand it.
Yeah. So we want robust regulation, not misguided prohibition. California just happened. I'm getting a call right now. I'm going to be on the call all day dealing with this California issue. It's crazy, but it's whack-a-mole. It just feels like every day you wake up, a new state's trying to do something differently. And I think we'll look back in a few years and say, like, whoa, what the hell just happened here? Yeah. So
and now
thank you as always for having me on, Jimmy.
Absolutely. And now you can tell all the people, where do I see that interview? Okay, yeah, you can go to the Pro Cannabis Media YouTube channel. It's going to be there. Yes, you can go to the homepage of Pro Cannabis Media. It's going to be there at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. But now you can download our new app for PCM TV. And it's one click download free, and one click, you get to watch the news. And I'm looking forward to launching that and getting that out there. But it's literally the week we're announcing it.
Wow.
So we're excited about it. So Kerry Hinkle, you've made history because you're a part of the first ever Cannabis Coast to Coast news show with my unbelievable anchor, Elena Pinto. And we're so happy that we have this kind of opportunity to talk openly and educationally about what's going on in this world. Thank you.
I'll be one of your first downloads for your app. So as soon as it's live, I'll hit the App Store and download it. So thank you as always, Jimmy.
It's live now. All right, Kerry.
Great. I'm downloading it now.
Thank you so much, man. Great to talk with you.